Hi guys, how are you? How are you all doing? So I was just doing a little bit of research just for my next video, and so I just wanted to pop on and go through a couple of things that I'm going to be including in my next learning session. So these are the three main reasons I see for progesterone being low. Now, progesterone can be low to a number of different things. There's issues like being on statins. You know, if you've got low cholesterol, or you don't eat fat, or you're highly stressed, or you've got tumors on your pituitary, the anterior pituitary is not working correctly, or there's some low minerals, low B6 or low thyroid. Those are reasons that you could have low progesterone, but there are three big reasons that I see happening. Now, let's talk about the menstrual cycle. One big reason can be not ovulating, and let's have a look at why that might be a reason. So what we've got is we've got certain phases in our menstrual cycle. Now, in the follicular phase, which is when we're that kind of couple of weeks before ovulation, in that follicular phase our estrogen is rising and rising. So estrogen rises, and then just before ovulation we have a luteinizing hormone surge. Luteinizing hormone comes from the pituitary and it signals our ovaries, and we have an estrogen surge. And this is what causes the follicle to rupture. The follicle rupture and then drops. Now, once the follicle ruptures, you've had that estrogen surge, you've had that luteinizing hormone surge, and you should get the temp rise and also the egg white discharge. And what then essentially happens is that follicle turns into a corpus luteum. Now, it's this corpus luteum that continues to produce your hormones. It continues to produce progesterone. It continues to produce estrogen. So those hormones will essentially rise, and those hormones serve different purposes, but particularly in that phase, progesterone is there to support pregnancy. So is estrogen as well, but progesterone more so. So if you're not ovulating, you won't be getting a chance to get that corpus luteum, and you won't be getting a chance to then produce a progesterone. So maybe if you're postmenopausal, or if you've had your ovaries removed, you will have problems as well making progesterone. So you need to look at other avenues to make progesterone. We do make progesterone in our adrenals, so you can work on that and support your adrenals to then produce your progesterone. But if you're not ovulating, you most likely have got low progesterone, and signs and symptoms of not ovulating can be a longer cycle. So, you know, a cycle is generally about 28 days. If it's going 34 and longer, that can be an indication you're not ovulating. And so your body and your hormones are never getting in sync for you to actually have a menstruation at about 28 days. So a long cycle can be an indication that you're not ovulating. Low temperature during the luteal phase. So from ovulation through to your next bleed, if your temperature is not warm and your temperature's not spiking, that can also mean you didn't ovulate, because when we ovulate, we make the corpus luteum, we then produce a progesterone, and progesterone actually regulates our metabolic rate and it increases our temperature. So if you're constantly cold through your luteal phase, then that also can be a sign you're not ovulating. If you're holding on to fluid during your luteal phase, so one of the mechanisms of actions of progesterone is it supports our Dosterone, and it supports your fluid balance, and it encourages excretion of sodium. So progesterone encourages excretion. So if your progesterone's at a good level, and actually it can be very high in the luteal phase for some women, you'll be peeing a lot more. But if you start holding on to fluid and getting puffy around the eyes, maybe puffy in the hands and feet, that too can be an indication that you're not ovulating, and that can be sodium retention. So you might actually then have issues with feeling thirsty all the time, feeling like you need fluid. So that can be an issue there. Anxiety. So progesterone during the luteal phase and during pregnancy, progesterone can work as anxiolytic, it can work as a sedative, it can relax you. And if you haven't got that progesterone due to not ovulating in your luteal phase, but you've also got high estrogen, you've got that kind of out of balance hormone. So you may end up with that anxiety, that insomnia, that kind of irritability, that mood when you're a little bit on edge because you don't have that relaxation from progesterone. And another big sign is the egg white mucus. The mucus, when it's meant to be like an egg white when you ovulate. If you get that consistently through your luteal phase, so what generally should happen is you ovulate, you get the egg white discharge, then the corpus luteum is released, and then through your luteal phase you start to dry up a little bit, and that is because the progesterone is encouraging that. Progesterone is encouraging the sealing over of the uterus and for the fluid to dry up. But if you're constantly getting kind of that egg white mucus, it can mean you haven't ovulated, it can mean your body's trying to ovulate, your estrogen's staying high and continuing to elevate along with your luteinizing hormone, but your progesterone's not high enough. So one big reason that you might have low progesterone is not ovulating, and you can try and track it, but given that not all women show some signs and symptoms. So some women use the P test, the luteinizing hormone, but not everyone will be positive on that. Some women look at their temp rise, but what you can do is you can actually get scans through your ovulation to see that your eggs are actually maturing and rupturing from an immature follicle right through to the corpus luteum. So that can be quite handy, particularly if you've got lots of symptoms of low progesterone, or if you're planning to get pregnant, that can be quite handy. So that's the number one reason women might have low progesterone. The second reason is stress. Stress is a biggie. So we know that progesterone, when we get stressed, our body does these really cool things. It does two very cool things. One is when we get stressed, our body will turn progesterone into cortisol. Cortisol is our fight-flight hormone. Cortisol allows us to deal with stress and process it, so we can deal with dangers. Another thing it does is it makes a metabolite. When we get stressed, our body makes allopregnanolone. That's a metabolite of progesterone, and it actually acts on the GABA receptors, so it keeps us calm. So when we get stressed, our body will do those two things, allopregnanolone and cortisol, so we can deal with stress, also so we stay calm as well. And so the more we get stressed, the more it kind of drains our progesterone. You might get signs and symptoms of fogginess, anxiety, insomnia, water retention as well, lots of salt cravings, and very, very thirsty. If you're chronically stressed and in this kind of situation, what might be sensible is to actually up your fluid intake and actually have more potassium-based foods. So, you know, celery juice, lots of green smoothies, barley grass in water, apple cider vinegar in water, lemon in water, and kind of putting an electrolyte in your water. The potassium will actually help to excrete some of that sodium, so you actually then feel satisfied, you don't feel as thirsty. Another thing you want to do during this time is actually support your body. So you can support it through magnesium. You can actually take GABA, which then will stop your body converting as much into pregnenolone. So the calmer you keep, the more meditating you do, the more quiet time you do, the more you support your body and tell your body that it's okay in these times of stress, the less your body will convert that much needed progesterone into other hormones like allopregnanolone and cortisol. So just be aware of that. Stress is a biggie. It's a huge one when it comes to draining your progesterone levels. And the third one is hyperinsulinemia, high blood sugar or less sensitivity in your insulin receptors. So this does a very naughty thing, and this can actually cause depletion of progesterone. And what this can do is it can turn your progesterone into a couple of different things. So when you've got high blood sugar, insulin resistance, lots of sugar in your diet, this can be a picture of polycystic ovarian syndrome. And what can happen is your progesterone can be funneled either into testosterone, and this is very tricky around ovulation time. Your follicles, they can actually make as well a little bit of testosterone, and if you've got that high blood sugar and insulin resistance, your testosterone levels might spike mid-cycle. Greasy skin, you might get more acne, and you might actually have a higher libido. And some women mistake this higher libido for a healthy estrogen ovulation and progesterone ovulation, but what actually it might be is that testosterone spiking, so you do need to look out for that as well. But what tends to happen with hyperinsulinemia, insulin resistance, pre-diabetic syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome, is that your body converts progesterone into testosterone, and also it can convert it into allopregnenolone. This is a metabolite of progesterone, and this can be very tricky. So in a small amount, this can relax you, this can make you feel tired, this can make you feel relaxed and happy during luteal phase. But if you've got very, very high blood sugar and poor insulin receptivity, what will happen is your body will make more and more and more of the allopregnenolone. It will sit on the GABA receptors, and this will make you extremely fatigued, and you might even become sensitive to this. And if you become sensitive to this, this can cause conditions of depression. So if you suffer from very, very low moods in your luteal phase, extreme depression in your luteal phase, extreme fatigue, fogginess, tiredness, so tired that you really feel like you can't do anything, then that can be a sign that what your body is doing is it's converting your much needed progesterone to allopregnenolone, either due to stress or blood sugar. So you need to look at the reason for this. Whereas if during your luteal phase you're getting lots of greasy skin, you're getting greasy hair, you're getting lots of acne, maybe you're getting smelly underarms, body hair, even facial hair, then that can mean that your body is converting it to testosterone. So look out for those signs and symptoms. But those are the three main reasons. So if you deal with those three main reasons, that can support your progesterone levels. We've got not ovulating, looking out for the signs and symptoms of not ovulating. We've got stress, chronic and acute stress, and we've also got hyperinsulinemia, which is called pre-diabetic syndrome, metabolic syndrome, issues with insulin resistance. So those are the main three reasons I see for progesterone being low, and they all have their different pictures. So I do get asked, you know, how to support your progesterone levels, but if you look at the root cause and if you look at why your progesterone may not be peaking in the luteal phase, or if at all during your menstrual cycle, you could look at one of those three areas and deal with it. So I hope you found that helpful for today. I'm going to be adding that to my next learning session. So that will be next week. So take care, guys. If you've got any question, please pop them below. Bye.